Morning, gorgeous. It's great to see you. Lovely to be out here. This is an amazing morning. I hope you saw the photographs I took a little bit earlier than usual. The sky was amazing. Let me show you the sky. It's quite different now. So there it is, the moon on the decline, still up. And let's go round in the opposite direction today. Morning, Linda. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning, Vanessa. Good morning, Dave. This is the big part of the sky that's still here. Good morning, Faye. This bit's gorgeous. It was all gorgeous before. It's all gorgeous now, just in a different way. And that's pretty much right up above us. It's just beautiful. So here it is. This is today. And this is this morning. Carmelina, good morning, beautiful. Good morning, Heather. Yay! It's lovely to see you all. I'm going to show you now. Look, oh my God. The loganberries are gone, and so is the frame they were upon. The loganberries did really well. They set fruit, and then it didn't really ripen. It got beaten to death by the wind. So the loganberries are now down here, and I've still got to prune them and stuff, but there they are. Hopefully, they'll be a bit more sheltered here. And let me show you the camellia, because that's one of the things that's still flowering, and it's beautiful. Let me get in here a bit closer. Something, a fresh flower. There it is. Yeah, it is beautiful. I struck this camellia from a cutting, and it took years just to turn into something I could transplant. Let me show you something else. But now it's finally turning into a thing. And an actual sort of vaguely looking like a tree. These are a bit chewed, but they're nerines, I believe. Actually, I don't know what they're called. They are chewed. But you can see they're starting to come out. Something just likes to eat them. They smell good. Here's the autumn garden. And you can see this is what it looks like. So there's the lemon tree and the campanula. Hi, Live, Love, Laugh. It's great to see you. Norma Jean, yay! We're all out here today. We've got ferns in the crib wall. Oh, look at this fresh green with little beautiful fine drops of dew. And this is another campanula that only flowers in summer. This is a native Astelia. And this wonderful sedge. This is a native plant. It's fabulous. I rescued this many years ago. And it's actually got so big I've got to break it up. Spread it out, because it eventually sort of falls apart and dies if you don't do that. Oh look, a solitary lemon flower. People forget that citrus flowers are not only beautiful, they smell fabulous. Very sweet. So, and we've got to get up close with this because it's so gorgeous. This purple. There is nothing missing from the world when you can enjoy this. Hang on, let me see if I can get some focus for you. The camera is really fixated on what is behind the flowers. There we go. Now you can see the dew on the morning, Nora. It's just lovely to be here with you all. Oh, and there's a spider's web. I don't know if you can see it. Just right. Yeah, the angle's not good and there's not much dew. But it's there, trust me. Anyway, so today we're talking about things. I talk a lot about things that just, why can't I change this? Why is this so hard? Why am I banging my head against a brick wall? Julian, good morning. Amanda, yay! Here we are all together. And I've sort of mentioned the dark night of the soul. But dark nights of the soul, well, that we often say that's a night, but for some people the dark night of the soul lasts a very long time. They go into a black space and stay there, and it's just very, very hard to get out. And for some of us, we look back on our lives, and I did this because, here I was, talented, high IQ, brilliant, Didn't know what to do with my life. Went to university to study music. Yeah, I used to play the violin. No, I don't play it anymore. Yes, I sold my violin and my bow. End of life, right? Done with that. And I went to university to study performance music because I didn't know what else to do. I got myself an office job out of school because I didn't know what else to do. And then I went to university. And then I embarked upon a career as a musician, which in Wellington, New Zealand's a small country. There's not an enormous amount of work. I was sort of a freelance musician, come teacher, come all sorts of things. It was a crappy way for me to make a living, really. You don't get paid to practice. And eventually I left that. I stopped. That's a long story. But then after that, I was so resentful that I had chosen that path by default because I didn't know anything better. Because everybody assumed because I was so bloody brilliant and got A's and everything else and, was second in line to Dux at school, Dux is the top clever person. Well, I was the second in line clever person. Everybody knew who the Dux was going to be that year, but I was a bit of a surprise to me too. Everyone assumed it'd be fine. Well, I didn't have a clue. I didn't get advice. And also, that was back in the early 80s. When, young women probably weren't really, there wasn't such a consciousness that women could do whatever the hell they wanted to. So there were all kinds of assumptions in the conscious mind. And so I just sort of followed the path of least resistance because I didn't know what else to do. Point being that when I left that career and embarked upon another default, but, slightly more financially rewarding, wasn't massive, I became an office temp. And then I had a really bad work experience in a long-term temp role, which made me sign off permanent work, permanent work, which is kind of ridiculous, really, because it was a temporary role anyway. So why did I say that permanent work was so bad? It was awful. And that's who I was and what I was attracting and being at the time. Couldn't help but manifest that because that's who I was. And, there was so much, I looked back on my life and thought, well, what a freaking waste. And why did I spend so much time on freaking stupid bloody music? I was good at it. Really, I was so pissed off about it. Trisha, good morning, everybody. And it took me and I didn't realise that, that wasn't really a very helpful way to be thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling and conditioning my body into that kind of frustration and hopelessness and everything else. And eventually, another long story, it finally dawned on me that it wasn't quite as wasted as I thought, because in learning to create music, I was first of all working with resonance, and resonance is kind of everything, because everything is frequency, everything is information, everything is energy. So I was, working with, working with the most sort of physical representation of that, and I didn't even really understand about connecting with an audience in those days. But, it was that I was working with resonance. So it wasn't wasted. It actually wasn't wasted. And I also realised that because of how incoherent I was, morning, Misty, great to see you, being an artist was probably the safest place for me, because if I had tried to engage in some kind of corporate world, oh God, the shit would have been poured on me because I was so incoherent. So it was the safest place for me to be because, artistic people can be a bit funny. And people just say, oh, well, it's the artistic temperament. It was all sitting perfect. I was not impressed. But eventually, intellectually and even a little bit emotionally, I started to understand how it was serving me, how it was useful to me. So there's that process that you look back on your regrets and your failures and your uninformed or poorly guided or poorly, whatever decisions and think, maybe if I just take away the frame that says that was a huge mistake and it cost me decades, and instead put something else around it that says, hey, I don't really understand this, but what if the thing that I think was the worst and the worstest decision and the baddest choice and everything else turns out to have been exactly what I needed to get me to where I am today? And what if I stop wallowing in regret? Oh, gee. What if I, let go of all of that? Of all of if you were pushed into stuff, which many of us have been, yeah. We can put so much energy into regret. And I remember, oh my goodness, many years ago now, when I first started my little Reiki practice, because I thought that's what I was going to be. Well, I wasn't, but, it was something. And I remember working with beautiful young woman. And she was so fearful about missing out in life. And I understand, she was dealing with anxiety, and I didn't know that she was actually on, she was on antidepressants. She came off them later, quite comfortably on her own, just from the things that, mostly I think, from the things that we'd learnt together and that she'd applied. I didn't do it. She did it, but I helped. And she was so afraid of missing out. It was amazing to me. It was like, oh, really? You can be that scared? Your life's just beginning, but you feel, all of this fear about, am I making the right decision? And I've already missed out on so much in life. And I understand now that immense preoccupation with time and the missing out and the what have I can't get it back. That is actually one of the expressions of being in survival. And by survival, I mean you're in fight or flee or freeze mode. Your body is saying there is a danger in your world and you need to respond to it, you need to react to it because, something's going to eat you or hurt you or damage you or whatever. And for us humans, it doesn't matter whether it is a lion or if it's someone that react to like a lion, like somebody who with whom we had a painful experience. You don't even have to see them, you just have to remember them, and your whole body goes back into, oh my God, that was awful. And suddenly you're back in stress again. Well, the thing about the antelope that's being chased by the cheetah is that in that stress and survival mode, the only thing the antelope is interested in is its body, preserving its body. It's in local environment, as in where am I going to go? What's the path to get away from this predator? And how long it's going to take to get there. Can I get there in time? Can I move through this in time? And so we stress about how long it's going to take. Dark night last year took me going, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, so let me follow that thought, Dave, because you've got it there. So that's where the preoccupation and the stressing about time and what I've missed out on and all of that stuff actually comes from. It's your body saying there's something chasing you or there's something ahead of you that you need to run to catch and you just can't get it. And we've got to get out of stress. We do. But when the dark night of the soul lasts a long time, and sometimes it really does, I think, like you say, Dave, there is always a point, and for me too, for all of us, there is a point where something inside us kind of makes a fist or rises up or gets determined and says, enough of this. This has to stop. I know that's, I know that for myself, and for many people, they can remember that moment. For me, I can't remember the moment, but I remember the feeling. I remember the sheer, I got to do this. Chasing foxes, it's gorgeous to see you. Yeah, people make decisions for us, Julian. They make the best decisions they can make, but they can still be totally crap, So there comes a point where all of the stuff that's put on us, all of the, the best decisions that parents or society makes for us, or the worst decisions that you've got to do this because I say so and you're too small or too powerless to argue, there comes a point when something in us says, enough, this has to stop. And the interesting thing, to which you allude, Dave, I think, is how deep some of us have to go before we get to that point. And that's the thing about the long-term struggle, the dark night of the soul, the just, why the feck will this not change for me? Joy, it's beautiful to see you. Woohoo! That's the thing about it. I can only describe, when I think about that moment, it's like there's something in you that says, something in me that says, and this is what I've heard Joe Dispenza say, and it makes so much sense to me now. I kind of thought, how am I going to explain this? But now I know. I just don't care anymore how I feel. I don't care how impossible it is. I don't care how much I want to die. I don't care how many times I've banged my head against this bloody brick wall. And that's all about, what's happening with me, myself, my experience. I don't care what other people are thinking or trying to do or be. I don't care about what's going on in the rest of my world, and I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to do this. And I have this tremendous will inside me now about the things in my life that I am determined to change. And they are things that I have been creating, and therefore uncreating, for quite some time. And that for me is a huge shift from looking back and just feeling how impossible it all was. It's like I was buying into my own impossibility. Was buying into all the couldn'tness and the disabilities and the problems and all of the labels that mostly I'd put upon myself, but some of you have had people put labels on you. It's also been imposed. I didn't have that, really. With the best of intention, I limited myself. I didn't know any better. And there comes a point where you just say no. We've been talking about saying yes and no. It is related to and not dissimilar from the stories that people tell about their addictions. When they just get to rock bottom, the dark night of the soul, and they say, this has to change. And it's a very deep decision. And it's completely independent of the alcoholic who says, this has to change. They're still an alcoholic. Their whole life is still the same. What's happened is that they have turned something inside themselves. Burner! Good morning, beautiful. And that decision, that choice, and some of us make it once and kapow, and some of us make it over and over and over and over again. Speaking from experience. That is the moment, or the over and over and over moment, that creates the opportunity for the light to enter. And by light, I mean change. I mean determination where before there was total hopelessness. Kimmy, it's gorgeous to see you, honey. I mean, you see, you stop. When you say this has to change, or whatever words, whatever thought, whatever feeling it was, the magnitude of that decision inside you changes you. It does. You'll know what I'm talking about if you have done this. Nothing outside of you changes, but something inside you makes a fist, or firms, or turns on, or, this has to happen. And that moment, which, by the way, we often can't force, it's like, why did it take me so long to get there? Because it did. Yeah, exactly, Linda. You came to a point where the core self saw enough difference, and I think this is what it's about. The core self saw finally that it didn't want to fit into that shell anymore. Like, the alcoholic says, oh my God, I am an alcoholic and I do not want to be this anymore. It's like the moment when you really identify what you've been choosing and make a very deep choice to choose something else. You've still got all the road ahead of you. But that choice is what, you've been walking on one path. It's like changing the switches on the railway tracks. It changes the direction. It's very powerful. And, I can't think of an example now, but there are many stories where people will tell you about a decision like that and it changed their life. It was just like, that's it. Oh, it's just come to mind. The moment when Tony Robbins, gave his money away. He was broke, he was scared, he was everything. And I can't remember why, but he gave his last $20 away to somebody. Kaya, beautiful, great to see you. And he was still broke. But he went away a changed man, and his life changed. He just changed in that moment. Oh my God, I'm addicted to being poor. Let me give this away and let me step into abundance. And he did. He did. So much choice. Yeah, you had to move past your grief and your fear. Yep. Yeah, I'm done. And you did, right? You realised, oh my God, I got to move through this. And sometimes, it probably took you a year to move not just through. It's like it all came to a head when your girlfriend passed away. But there was all of that, your grief and your fear had been building in you, but you hadn't really seen it. It was like, I'm busy living my life. I'm busy being the shape of me that I'm used to being. And this is inconvenient. And then finally, life grabs us by the shoulder or slams us into a wall or taps us on, it just depends how much it takes to get us to listen. Deborah, good morning, lovely. And gets our attention. The dark night of the soul is actually your wake-up call. It's your wake-up call to say, hey, you going to change yet? You going to stop being that yet? And we'll talk more about that. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about fear tomorrow, Cammie. Fear's an interesting one. It's so convincing. It's so convincing. Hello, speaking from experience. So, yeah, I'm glad I talked about this. I wasn't quite sure what shape it was going to take, but it's an important topic, Shirley, good morning, darling. Oh, the fear of failure. Yeah, the regret of what you've missed out on it. Yeah. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Great question. Love it when you give me things to play with, folks, because that's where the best stuff comes out. If you've got any specific examples or specific things about fear of failure, Cammie, or anyone else, please drop it under Cammie's question, under Cammie's comment, so I can go, oh, okay, let's talk about that. I know I'm out of time, beautiful beings. It is so good to be with you. I love our conversations, and I love that you elevate and that you create yourselves. Thank you for joining me in that journey. Very much love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.